October 2011, and we're now on the Chehalis River after 5 years of extensive Elodea removal from this section of the river. There was about 12 acres of almost solid Brazilian Elodea in this portion of the river, and it has all been removed by crews from Thurston County, the Chehalis tribe, funded through the Department of Ecology, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the Salmon Control Board. And it's been a massive undertaking to clear up the main stem of the river here. There were areas that were solid Brazilian Elodea infested completely across the main stem of the river here. But as you can see today, it's relatively clear and clean, and we're really happy with the results and the effectiveness that we've been able to achieve so far. Throughout the river system, there was about 35 acres over 34 miles of the Chehalis River main stem. Now, in 2011, we're down to about less than 3 acres. So we're really thrilled that we've been able to make that amount of progress. There were some key factors or points that made us effective. And the number one thing was learning about the root systems of Brazilian Elodea and how much of the fibrous roots that we needed to remove. So we consulted with Portland State University professors and were able to determine how much of the root mass of the Brazilian Elodea to remove to kill the plant. Once we were able to do that, then our efforts were sped up a lot because we didn't have to remove every single tiny little lateral root. We simply had to remove the root crown or the double node of the Brazilian Elodea from the bottom of the river, and that killed the plant. And once we learned that technique, our efforts became much more effective, and we're really happy with the results we're seeing now. So as you look at the main stem of the Chehalis River at this point, in 2011, this is where it was nearly solid Brazilian Elodea canopied on the top surface of the water. It is no longer there, which is an indication that we've been effective. This is an area that the Chehalis tribe worked extensively in for 2 seasons to get it removed, using their dredge system, which vacuumed the biomass of the plants and the roots out of the system and got them out of the river. So the total number of pounds that has been removed from the Chehalis River through all the different projects over the last 5 years is 316,000 pounds. That is an awful lot of Brazilian Elodea. We were getting up to 100,000 pounds in 2007. There was a major flood event that winter, and that really did help clean out some of the biomass in the river. But even after that, we were still finding at least 50,000 pounds per year in the river and removing it with diver dredging every year. This year, we only found 990 pounds. And that is on a 35-mile stretch of river. We used to find 990 pounds in 1 day. So we feel like we've made a lot of progress. This is the native Elodea. This is a good plant. It's good habitat in Thurston County in our rivers for our habitat and our fish. This is Brazilian Elodea, the invasive, which is much, much larger and much more invasive and takes over the entire water column if we let it escape and grow out of control. One of the keys for us was learning how much of these roots can be almost 20 feet long on a mature plant. And when we started removing Elodea, the plants were that large. What we learned was we needed to get this root crown or the double node removed with the biomass of the plant, and then we were effective in killing the plant. It wasn't necessary to get every one of these tiny little fibrous roots. But it was very important to remove the top half of the plant, or the top portion of the plant, because it will reproduce on every 10th node. I'm not seeing any roots on that one, but I probably have one that will show that. Okay, this is a good example of how Brazilian Elodea spreads. There are roots that will form at every 10th node down the stem, and those roots will start new plants. The plant will break apart, and this will become a new infestation. And these two will also become new infestations. So from one plant, you could end up with many thousands of plants just from the fragmentation, because every 10th node of leaves, you'll have the opportunity for more roots to begin to form and get broken off in winter storms and flood events and start new infestations. One of the things that we were interested in finding out when we started the Elodea removal project was whether or not the water quality in the river was being impacted by Brazilian Elodea. So we measured the dissolved oxygen content of the water in mats of Brazilian Elodea prior to removal, and then went back to those same areas and measured the dissolved oxygen after the Elodea had been removed. And what we were able to record in about a half-mile section of the river that was severely infested with Brazilian Elodea was that the dissolved oxygen levels rose about 8% after the Brazilian Elodea had been removed from the water column. So that did indicate to us that we had improved water quality, which is good for fish and other habitat that are in the river system. So I'd like to just say a few thank yous to the partners on this project. There are many partners, many citizens, many employees that have been divers, inspectors, weed pullers that have worked out here in the river for Thurston County, for the Chehalis tribe, for the Nature Conservancy, for Fish and Wildlife, for the Department of Ecology and Department of Natural Resources in Washington State. All these entities have been great partners for us to get on top of this problem and not allow it to infest the entire Chehalis River watershed. And it will be required that we stay diligent on this problem and get it eradicated. Now that we're down to 3 acres, we think that that's really possible, where 5 years ago it was didn't really look like eradication would be something that we could achieve, but now it may be very possible.